Good afternoon, brothers and sisters. Jim Beckwith reporting here at End Times Prophecy News. Trump curse, threatening words against U.S. President by Iran's Khomeini and Rouhani bring death and humiliation for Islamist regime. This is a very important news article. This proves that we are in the last trump, as Paul the Apostle said in 1 Corinthians 15, the timestamp for the rapture. The leaders of the Islamist regime in Iran have engaged in a war of words with President Trump in recent weeks, responding to Trump's urgent warnings to not attack the United States with arrogant threats. Those threats have boomeranged on the Iranian regime, bringing death and humiliation. An Iran government photo here of Khomeini. The Urban Dictionary definition of the Trump curse. The Trump curse is a theory that anyone who says or does negative towards Donald Trump will be cursed with bad luck or negative karma. No, it's God's judgment. What has happened to Iran is reminiscent of the Ten Commandments movie, where Pharaoh's curses on the Israelites are turned back by God on Pharaoh and the Egyptian people. Very important. And let me just say that the definition of the trump in the Bible, written by Paul the Apostle, is a miraculous miracle by God to overcome the evil in the world at the time. The last trump that Paul talks about in 1 Corinthians 15 is the final one before the time of Jacob's trouble. Because in the time of Jacob's trouble, the Antichrist and Satan, manifested in the flesh, are going to be given all power to destroy the world until Jesus comes to kick their butts out, right? So we have a last trump of God against evil. The first trump was this one right here. The children of Israel and Pharaoh. One of the biggest in the Bible ever speaks of. The last trump is Cyrus come back in the spirit in the form of Trump. On December 31st, President Trump warned Iran after its proxy militia attacks the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad. Iran will be held fully responsible for lives lost or damage incurred at any of our facilities. They will pay a very big price. This is not a warning. It is a threat. Happy New Year. The next day, Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Khomeini dismissively replied to Trump, calling him that guy, and arrogantly said to Trump, "You can't do anything." Really? If God go before you, who can be against you? That guy has tweeted that we see Iran responsible for the events in Baghdad, and we will respond to Iran. First, you can't do anything. Second, if you were logical, which you're not, you'd see that your crimes in Iraq, Afghanistan have made nations hate you. Let me get this straight. In other words, Trump is that guy who represents the U.S. who has done crimes in Iraq and Afghanistan in the past, but those were not him. Was it? Well, if Khomeini, if you could see anything, you're blaming Trump for past wicked globalist presidents, aren't you? That's exactly what you're doing. 2 days later, on January 3rd, Khomeini's most important member of his government, Quds Force leader Major General Qasem Soleimani, was killed in a U.S. drone attack authorized by President Trump. For years, Soleimani had been untouchable, even though he was responsible for the deaths of over 600 U.S. troops and the maiming of thousands more, and had also organized, funded, and armed terror groups and proxy militias to do Iran's bidding. His veil of protection was apparently lifted by Khomeini's arrogant taunt to Trump. You can't do anything. On January 4th, President Trump again warned Iran, this time by mentioning he has a list of 52 targets in Iran, one of each American taken hostage by the regime in 1979 Tehran embassy takeover. Iran is talking very boldly about targeting certain USA assets as revenge for our ridding the world of their terrorist leader who had just killed an American and badly wounded many others, not to mention all of the people he had killed over his lifetime, including recently hundreds of Iranian protesters. He was already attacking our embassy and preparing for additional hits in other locations. Very true. Iran has been nothing but problems for many years. Let this serve as a warning that if Iran strikes any Americans or American assets, we have targeted 52 Iranian sites representing the 52 American hostages taken by Iran many years ago, some at a very high level and important to Iran and the Iranian culture. And those targets, Iran itself, will be hit very fast and very hard. The USA wants no more threats. On January 6, Iran's President Hassan Rouhani warned Trump about the 52 targets, bringing up the 1988 accidental shoot-down by the U.S. of an Iranian passenger jet that killed 290 passengers and crew, citing number the 290 and the flight number IR-655. Those who refer to the number 52 should also remember the number 290, IR-655, never threatened the Iranian nation. Guess he wanted more. 2 days later, on January 8th, a Ukrainian passenger jet flying out of Tehran burst into flames and crashed minutes after takeoff. The same night, Iran fired 16 ballistic missiles at U.S. forces at 2 Iraqi bases, of which only 10 hit the base and there was 0 U.S. casualties. The Iranian missiles fired at U.S. forces resulted in no casualties and minimal damage. The plane crash killed 76 passengers and crew, most of them Iranian citizens or Iranians with citizenship in other countries, departing after holiday visits to family in Iran. Merry Christmas. After several days of denial, the Iranian government admitted on Saturday, local time, that the plane had been shot down by the Iranian military, claiming it was an accident. Once again, a threat by the Iran against Trump, this time issued by Rouhani, boomeranged on the regime. Now, before we go any further about the plane, is the fact that they at first would not unveil the black box to Ukraine to prove that it was blown up by a missile. Number 2, they bulldozed the site after they used dogs to sniff out any remnants of missiles because they know their missile hit it. Then after they try to cover up it all, then they say it was an accident. Let's continue now. Rouhani issued a statement Saturday citing the flight number of the plane his regime shot down. Armed Forces internal investigation has concluded that regrettably missiles fired due to human error caused the horrific crash of the Ukrainian plane and death of 176 innocent people. Investigations continue to identify and prosecute this great tragedy and unforgivable mistake. PS 752, the Islamic Republic of Iran deeply regrets this disastrous mistake. My thoughts and prayers go to all the mourning families. I offer my sincerest condolences. Does he care about the 54 people who died in the stampede and over 200 people that were badly hurt in Soleimani's funeral? No. He doesn't say anything about that of his own people. Also, 56, I just said, 56 Iranians were killed in a stampede during a funeral procession on January 7th for Soleimani in his hometown of Kerman, and over 200 were wounded. On January 4th, Ayatollah Khomeini accused the U.S. of pride in the killing of Soleimani and then pridefully boasted about the expected turnout for Soleimani's funeral. But the truth of it is that they were all fed a meal and they were baited there to feed them lunch because their people are starving. Economic collapse due to the sanctions from Trump. Haj Qasim Soleimani had been exposed to martyrdom repeatedly. Ayatollah Khomeini says, but in performing his duty in fighting for the cause of false God, Allah, he didn't fear anyone or anything. He was martyred by the most villainous people, the U.S. government and their pride. He was martyred by, and their pride in this crime is a distinguishing feature of him. To martyr Soleimani's family, you saw people in many cities come out in numbers with devotion. Wait to see his funeral. These blessings are before us to see the value of martyrdom. Value? The value of death? What a blessing for Haj Qasim. He achieved his dream. His dream is death? Yes. The Trump-Khomeini confrontation is playing out in biblical fashion, or at least the Cecil B. DeMille version of the Ten Commandments, where Charlton Heston starred in. I loved that movie years ago. Now the Iranian regime has released a video showing Iranian agents blowing up the Capitol and killing President Trump, after they already called for an international hit job of paying anyone $80 million to kill President Trump. Good luck dealing with the Trump curse for that one. Now, let's go to the next article. I want to talk about this. Exclusive, did Iran shoot down the Ukrainian plane on purpose? New evidence suggests this may be the case. No, I do not agree with this. This is not evidence to prove that, and I'll tell you why in a minute. I'm going to go over this quickly. Evidence is indicating that the Ukrainian jetliner shot down in Iran was no mistake. The Iranian regime claims it was, but evidence shows the opposite. Another internet sleuth put together a Twitter feed that provides evidence that Iran shot down the Ukrainian jetliner this past week and that it appears to be deliberate. No, it is the curse of Trump. But let's continue with Carlos Osuedo says that we can positively identify the missile that brought down the Ukrainian airliner as Tor M1 SA-15. This is the missile heading toward the airliner. This is the warhead separating from the missile body. This is the warhead exploding right before it hits the airliner. And finally, we see the airliner clear as day as the spent missile body begins to fall to Earth. The sequence is identical to the sequence in a YouTube video. I agree with all this. Here's the video. Iran is now claiming that they indeed shot down the Ukrainian jetliner, but it appears that the Ukrainian jet may have been intentionally shot down. 6 airliners flew over the same spot in the 3 hours and 30 minutes after the Iranians fired missiles into Iraq, but before the Ukrainian jet was shot down. Those 6 airliners were 2 Turkish airlines, 1 Austrian Airlines, 1 Pegasus Airlines, 1 Aeroflot, and 1 Qatar Airways. The downing of the Ukrainian jet was deliberate. Again, I will emphasize that Ukraine is on Trump's side now. When President Poroshenko was the president, they were against him, okay? They meddled in our election big time with the Democrats, giving them all kinds of fake, fabricating evidence against Trump. And meanwhile, the new president, Zelensky, is totally pro-Trump. Okay? Very interesting, because we have 2 Turkish airlines. Would Trump care much if Ukrainian jet has been taken down? Yes. Would he care much about a Turkish? No, because it's Muslim mainly. 1 Austrian Airlines, interesting, 1 Pegasus Airlines, 1 Aeroflot, and 1 Qatar Airways. Okay, he wouldn't care about Qatar either. This was no panicky reaction, he says. The route the aircraft took is totally known to the Air Defense Force. And also we have satellites that detected that where it came from, and it all happened. People are complaining that the site is being bulldozed and the wreckage removed. Very true. Well, this is an interim period. This is a battle between the hardliners and the people who've had enough. The battle must be fought by Iranians. There's no doubt that the hardliners will lose now. Here's one thing that the regime is doing that they learned from Trump. This is where I don't know where Carlos is coming from. Put out conflicting messages. What? Trump never does that. Okay, the far-left New York Times reported also that the flight path of the Ukrainian jetliner was not out of order. The Times also reported that the multiple flights took off before and after the Ukrainian flight that night in Iran. Evidence does appear to indicate that Iran may have shot down the Ukrainian jetliner on purpose. This was not accident. Okay, it's possible. It is possible. I'm going to push toward no because I believe it's the Trump curse. And the reason why is because here's the thing. If you're playing a video game, you get all kinds of software issues. We all know that computers and software run missiles to their target. They're up to making an error. Things happen. And if God wanted to breathe life into man the first time out of the dust of the earth and created all things, would it be too hard for him to change the software and make a missile head toward a plane that is predominantly Iranian passengers? I even heard that there were some low Iranian leaders on that plane. I might be wrong, but the point here is I have no doubt that that missile targeted the plane. What I do doubt is that Iran intentionally shot it down. No, they didn't. It's very interesting because we have about 2/3 of the people were Iranian and about 1/3 was Canadian. Both are pro-globalists. While the airline itself, the jet, the plane, was from a Ukrainian jet. Very interesting. My guess, no, God doesn't care about machine and metal, does he? He cares about souls and people dying innocently. So my guess, as a spiritual man who judges all things, as Paul says, the spiritual man judges all things, that this was a curse. And it is obvious by the deaths, and that it's definitely panning out just like I said. And I've been telling you about this over and over and over. Now, and what is this Trump curse? Well, this Trump curse also lines up with the last Trump that happens right before the rapture. Now, if you come this far, good, but you need to listen a little more if you want to enter the kingdom of God. You know, and I noticed that people didn't listen to my second part of my teaching yesterday much, about 1/3 as much as the first part, and both of them are low in views. Shame on you for those who didn't listen. Why do I say that? Well, I know some of you didn't get a time in your day to get around to the second part. Why do I say that? Well, being a man of God and a spiritual man who judges all things, I try to give you the meat of the word, and you've shown me that you're not very interested. Well, we live in very wicked times. Sure we do. We live in a world where Christians think that Donald Trump is all about just making America great again and all will be good. But I keep telling you that's not what's going to happen. It is the last Trump, where God pulls out a trump card on the wicked once again, just like he did with Pharaoh of Egypt. Okay, so that's what he's doing right now. But he's not going to make America great again for thousands of years. No, we have the 7 years of great tribulation. We have the resurrection or the rapture about ready to happen, where the dead in Christ rise first, and we who are still alive shall meet the Lord in the air. And then we have the 1,000-year reign of Christ. But you see, on that day of the Lord that starts right after the rapture, what's going to happen? Sudden destruction. You see, this last trump is all about baiting those who are not spiritual. God is testing and trying your faith. And he says, those who are Christians who want to make America great again and stay, guess what? I got a surprise for you, and it ain't a good one. sudden destruction. You see, I keep telling you this, and that you will become the children of the night instead of the children of the day. You will be in darkness, because that day shall overtake you as a thief, because Jesus is as a thief. He's going to take his bride and elope with her into heaven. So I'd like you to be all the children of the light and the children of the day. But unfortunately, there are a lot of people that all they care about is making America great again. Cyrus is here to bring a wonderful miracle and lay out the red carpet before his spotless bride is taken up. We're going to go into more news now. It's going to be a one-segment news for today. Let Trump be Trump. GOP senators want to play patty cake at impeachment trial. Trump wants to go scorched earth and call in witnesses. I'm going to tell you right now, obviously, Nancy Pelosi she knows she ain't got nothing. And the GOP senators, Republicans, aren't doing nothing either to bring forth witnesses. They want to call it quits, as if they're on Trump's side. No, the reality of this is that Trump wants a full Senate trial with full witnesses. And why? Because he's going to burn the Democrat Party through it. But see, the GOP senators, they don't want to do that because a lot of them are rhinos, such as McConnell, Rubio, and many others. Murkowski. They all want to, and many others, they don't even want to, they want to act like we're going to cancel the Senate trial as soon as it comes in. Let's move on. First, let's give you some updated news. We have a FISA court appoints Obama-era national security leader at DOJ to review FBI reforms. Another cover-up by the abomination regime. Last month, presiding FISA Judge Rosemary Collyer announced she would be stepping down early due to health issues. Chief Justice Roberts tapped Judge James Boasberg, an Obama appointee, to replace Collyer, all in on the fix to cover up all the crimes of the FISA court, the DOJ, Comey, FBI, everyone. On Friday, Judge Boasberg announced in an order that he has appointed Obama-era national security leader at the DOJ, David S. Criss, as an amicus counsel to review the reforms of the FBI will be making to its FISA application process. Zoom to the bottom. Look what Criss is going to do with David Criss is going to do with Christopher Wray. Here are my two big conclusions from the IG's report, as revealed in the 20-page executive summary. First, the report repudiates the claims of a coup and related deep state conspiracies in the FBI as advanced by President Trump and his supporters. It's all a cover-up, folks. It's all a cover-up. They're trying to cover it up, but it ain't gonna work. A teenager breaks his silence after nasty rapper kicks him out of concert for refusing to say F Trump on stage. And the left goes on. We continue. Democrats echo Iranian mullahs. Iranian foreign minister joins Pete Buttigieg in blaming Trump after Iran shoots down passenger plane. What have I been saying? The Democrats love Islam. What do you think Benghazi was all about with Hildebeest? It's been going on for a long time. They are the terrorists. They are the head of the coup d'etat. They are the head of the terrorists, the globalists. They represent the globalists in this nation. 97% of them. Breaking, protesters rise up against Iranian regime. Videos, protesters chant, "Death to dictator," and our enemy is here. They telling us lie by saying it is America. See? Uncovered. They're telling us a lie by saying it is America, but they want death to their dictator, Khomeini and Rouhani. Oh, check this one out. Talk about total depravity. Gwyneth Paltrow is selling a vagina-smelling candle, and Star-Kissed Tuna Fishy responds to Gwyneth Paltrow's vagina candle controversy. Gwyneth Paltrow is selling a $75 candle that she says smells like her vagina on her Goop online store. Tell me, what is in the minds of men or transgenders, she-its, who desire to buy this product? Total depravity. And you wonder why I tell you God is not going to be sending true visions or prophecies in a generation of wickedness, as the Bible says. This is so disgusting. Perfume that smells like her vagina, and Star-Kissed Tuna responds. Here's what it says. For that person who has everything, Gwyneth Paltrow is peddling a $75 candle that smells like her vagina. Fish. Even Star-Kissed Tuna responded to the Paltrow vagina candle, and they said what? Ha ha ha. No. Next up, Sean Hannity. Really, that's your reaction? Sean Hannity goes off on Chris Wray after FBI's weak and insulting response to FISA abuse and spying on Trump. To say the least, corruption covering up corruption. And then there's sickening. Obama Secretary of State John Kerry knew U.S. dollars from the Iran nuclear deal would end up in the hands of terrorists. Of course he did. And he's guilty of breaking the Logan Act. He needs to be put in prison himself. John Kerry is upset that President Trump ruined the Iran nuclear deal. I'm trying to support terrorists like Obama. Trump cursed, threatening words against U.S. President by Iran's Khomeini and Rouhani bring death. I already gave you that one up front. An Iranian regime releases a movie, Hard Revenge, where U.S. Capitol is blown up and President Trump is killed in White House. That I already mentioned inside of this one. Okay. And of course, Iran admits it's unintentionally shot down Ukrainian airplane because of human error. Okay. All those poor fools. I like this one. Trump says, Trump rips Jew hater Ilhan Omar and Know Nothing AOC. Let's take a listen. If I can get it to work.
As we continue to evaluate options in response to Iranian aggression, the United States will immediately impose additional punishing economic sanctions on the Iranian regime. These powerful sanctions will remain until Iran changes its behavior.
Well, that's not what we were looking for, was it? Trump slammed Omar and her buddies in the squad. Here it is.
Ilhan Omar, I think, said today that this is akin to economic warfare against Iran, even though she supports sanctions against Israel.
Yeah. She hates Israel. She hates Jewish people. You just have to take a look at her rhetoric. It's incredible what's happened to the Democrats in Congress. They used to be supportive of Israel. Today they're supportive of her and Tlaib. That's another real winner.
Now let's stop right there. The only reason why they were supportive of Israel in the past is because they were acting like they were supportive of Israel while they were trying to oppress it with Islam rising. Let's be honest there.
Talib and AOC, who knows nothing. AOC knows nothing. Poor student, poor everything. And then she comes and she talks about the Green New Deal, and all these poor fools say, oh, isn't it wonderful? Isn't it wonderful? But, you know, as I said last night in Ohio.
And they are all poor fools, because God is making a mockery out of the Democrat Party and disseminating it and imploding it from within through the squad. Their leaders.
I don't like talking about the Green New Deal. It's too early. I want to save it for about 2 weeks before, because they may change their mind.
Bernie Sanders was out. You're not surprised to hear.
Oh, that's funny. They may change their mind. Oh, Trump's brilliant, isn't he? Okay, let's move on down here. On same night as Soleimani strike, U.S. also targeted Iranian al-Quds leader in Yemen, but it was a fail. You're siding with Iran. You're a fraud. Screaming protester crashes Elizabeth Warren rally. Nice. Now, let's drop over to Red State for a different view. Let's reload it real quick. Ann Coulter mocks Trump again. He's built 0.2% of the wall, but he just got $3.6 billion, and now we're going to go into a driving force to build the wall. Trump on FBI. Are these dirty cops going to pay a big price for the fraud they committed? Very true. And protests erupt against the Revolutionary Guards in Tehran. Shameless Revolutionary Guards, get your hands off our country. State Department issues a travel advisory for Iraq, warning U.S. citizens are at high risk for violence and kidnapping. Very true. Did Hillary Clinton get another free pass? Greg Jarrett comments on latest report about Clinton probe. Obama's advising Meghan and Harry on a new life outside royal family. Oh, the reprobates giving moral advice to reprobates, the blue buds. Iranian protester demands Khomeini quits over plane downing. Oh, that'd be a good thing, wouldn't it? Fury on streets of Tehran after military admits shooting down plane. I bet, with 2/3 of that plane were Iranians, huh? Whistleblower calls out John Kerry, says he knows for fact Obama admins sent multiple letters directly to Soleimani. Robots out of work as automated businesses close in Bay Area. San Francisco and the Bay Area especially, and sanctuary state of California is really going down fast. Amazon fires employees for leaking customer email addresses and phone numbers. Oh, there you go. The leftists working in Amazon leaking out conservatives' phone numbers and addresses to target us. Trump signals he will use executive privilege to block John Bolton testimony in Senate trial. There's a big one. Very interesting. I guess John Bolton is going to, the Democrats were planning to use John Bolton against Donald Trump. Colorado allows transgender residents new birth certificate, no surgery required. Meaning, if a woman wants to be a man, I can become a man on my driver's license without even looking like a man. And vice versa, men can be women, but they don't still look like men. Crazy Colorado. That's because Colorado is like the second state for sodomites, transgenders, Shiites, lesbians, gays, bisexuals, transgenders, pedophilia, bestiality. They are the second state to kick it in after California. FBI director tells surveillance court he deeply regrets failures in Carter Page FISA process. Really? 68% of undocumented Los Angeles County residents have lived in U.S. for more than a decade. Pathetic. Mark Oz Geist. Trump's decisive leadership would have saved my Benghazi team. Very true. And U-Haul's nicotine-free hiring rule reflects a trend that troubles workers' advocates. Well, there are some states, I think at least one now, that says that you must be 21 in order to smoke a cigarette. And a lot of people are saying, oh, that is pathetic, and it is pathetic. I mean, you got to go to war at 18, but you can't smoke a cigarette till you're 21. But if you want to ask me, they should ban cigarettes 100%. And Omar sounds off after Minnesota County bans refugee resettlement aided by Trump executive order. MIT admits it made significant mistakes by taking Jeffrey Epstein's donations. Texas Governor Greg Abbott, first in U.S. to halt refugee flow into his state. Give that man a badge. It's what Jesus would do. Ricky Gervais defends accepting conservative fans. Sanctuary cities, a battle over the Second Amendment is unfolding across America, and migrant caravan ad circulating in Honduras calls for January 15th departure. Homeless person attempts to kidnap a little girl, witnesses say. Scottish hermits excommunicated after accusing Pope Francis of heresy. Watch, a man crashes Elizabeth Warren rally. That's the one I was just reported on. So anyway, that'll be all for today's news. I know that was just the headlines, but I just want you to really focus on the Trump curse and the last Trump. The rapture is almost here, folks. It's going to be we've already seen the signs in the stars. I think forgot where it says that in Luke 21. We've already seen many signs and wonders. But you see, the signs and wonders are for the unbelieving Jews. The unspotted bride of Christ is not an unbeliever and doesn't require signs. No. We know God's word. We know who God is. And we know that God made his name great throughout all the earth through Pharaoh. And he's doing it again. As it says down here, what if God, willing to show his wrath and to make his power known, endured with much long suffering the vessels of wrath fitted to destruction, and that he might make known the riches of his glory on the vessels of mercy which he had afore prepared unto glory. That's not exactly the one I was looking for. It's actually up here, verse 17. So then it is not of him that willeth, nor of him that runneth, but of God that showeth mercy. For the scripture saith unto Pharaoh, even for this same purpose have I raised thee up, that I might show my power in thee, and that my name might be declared throughout all the earth. You see, it was not Moses. Everyone thinks it's all about Moses, that God made his name great throughout all the earth. It was God hardening Pharaoh's heart over and over and over. And then he destroyed Pharaoh and all his men 100%. Not one man was alive. And God is going to do the same thing with the Democrat Party. He's going to destroy it as this last Trump somewhat, and then all of a sudden they will have more power than ever after the body and the bride of Christ rises up to meet the Lord in the air, and sudden destruction, and the Antichrist will come to reign. I just want you to know God uses the wicked, and anyone who thinks that Donald Trump needs to be a perfect saint in order for God to use him doesn't know God. May the Lord bless you, and thank you for listening.